ask any member of my family, they would say Tope is a giver. I do not joke with anything health related. I do not joke with school fees. I do not joke with like the essentials. However, if you ask my family members, they will tell you Tope is disciplined, which means I have consistently shown that I am not going to fund anybody's irresponsibilities.
Hello everyone and welcome to the very first episode of the Someone Had to Say It podcast. My name is Olaoluwa and Oladokun and
Temitope Oladokun.
Yeah. Well, you can call me Ellie and you can call her
T-Docs.
We are getting professional at this. Yeah. So it's episode 1.
Yep.
We finally made it here. How do you feel?
I'm excited.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. And one of the traditions we'll be introducing on the podcast is, drum roll, the red shoebox. So the red shoebox is basically, what is the red shoebox? It's where we have like conversation topics just to make it fun and exciting. So we just pick at random, you know, and of course, anything you'd like us to talk about, you can send us suggestions as well. Goes into the red shoebox, and we can pick them. So let's start.
Shake it.
It's you know, it's an actual shoebox.
I know.
Okay. It's an actual shoebox.
Yes.
And I know you are finicky about sorry,
what?
it's not clean because a shoe used to be inside.
That's okay.
Yep. So
are you ready?
Yes, we have a topic.
Okay.
What's it gonna be?
Alrighty. So the topic is black tax, family expectations, and the adulthood scam.
Nice one. The first episode just had to be one where we would have to drag our parents. This was not the plan. It's about time. Daddy and Mommy, if you are watching, it was not me that said so. Yeah. Okay, black tax. What was it again? Black tax.
Yeah. Family expectations and the adulthood scam.
Adulthood is not a scam for me in Jesus' name.
Amen.
Sorry, forgive me. Like, you know, I'm a church boy, so sometimes I just have to resist the devil and all those things. But I mean, we get the concept.
Yeah.
So what was your first experience with black tax?
Wow, we're just going to dive right into it. Okay. So I would say my first experience. First of all, Mommy, if you are going to be listening to this, please
don't judge.
Thank you. Please just listen. Do not judge and forget about everything I'm going to say. But anyway, so I think for me, it wasn't as jarring, and I'm going to admit, because I think not just my family upbringing and the way I personally have owned my growth and evolution, I was already primed towards having a sense of responsibility for family. And the way it translated was that when I started to work, like from the get-go, I already had an allocation for my mom and family. But I think where I had to be confrontational was, I think some months down the line, still within my first year of working, my mom would, you know, apart from what I would give her, she would ask me for, Tope, I need to recharge, you know, my airtime, Tope, I need to buy data, and just little petty things here and there. And it was hurting my finances because I'd given you your allocation. That's how it was playing my head, giving you your allocation. I had, you know, funds put in different slots. So I actually could not accommodate, you know, some of these other petty things that were coming on the side. And what I did was sit my mom down to say, Mommy, this amount I'm giving you in the month, I actually planned for it. I have other commitments, 10% for tithe, say 30% for my upkeep, 10% savings, So when you ask me for more, I genuinely cannot afford it because I already planned and budgeted for you in my monthly allowance. So if you're asking for more and I'm unable to give, I'm truly unable to give. And I think that was a reality check moment, even for my mom, because I'm sure in her head, and I'm sure it was armless, she just felt like, Tope just started working. Tope doesn't have major responsibilities, so she should be able to flex with, you know, more disposable funds, right? And I think for me, that was like one of the reality check moments that made me know that I needed to establish strong boundaries when my finances are concerned.
Yeah, that's interesting. I think my own was, would I say, a bit more dramatic. So I got my first job after school, like a week after I concluded my final year project. So I mean, I was the drive and the motivation for me was that, you know what, my first priority is to make myself less of a burden to my parents. You know, at least one less mouth to feed, one less person to take care of, one less person to give an allowance to, and stuff like that. So that was my motivation. You know what, get out of school, get a job. They don't have to be looking after you again. And I felt, you know, I was, you know, gaining my own liberty and also helping my parents in that sense. So I got my first job, and you know, after the first month I got paid, and by this time my phone was bad. So I was like, wonderful, payday, you know what, let me go and get a new phone. And then I can't remember, I can't remember how much I gave my parents, but I do remember that I sent my mom recharge card. Okay, in all fairness, looking back now, you know, that wasn't the right judgment call. But I do remember also giving some money to my folks and all. And of course, I got my phone and all of that stuff. Then I remember my parents calling me for this like sit down conversation. Exactly. Like, you know, you need to be more, you need to take up some responsibility, you need to be more responsible. You know, now that you're earning money, you have to be contributing in some way to the house.
And I'm sure your mind, you're like, how much am I making?
It wasn't way about how much am I making. I was like, no, this is this was not the plan. The plan was for me to like save you people of the I thought I was helping you guys, you know, saving you of the expense of sending me allowance and stuff like that. So at least let me take one burden off your plates and then, you know, stabilize before we now start all this. I remember, I mean, it was a very, very serious conversation because I insisted that, no, I'll just do whatever it is that I can and stuff like that, you know. But that was basically like my first exposure. I mean, that was when life became real to me. Like, before I would come and meet you people for every basic thing. Was it not enough progress that now I am at least progressing towards doing things by myself? So that brings me to the next question: that do you think it's a bad thing? Is black tax a good thing or a bad thing, generally speaking?
Yeah, so I think black tax has a negative connotation. It's just the way when you talk about black sheep,
black tax and black sheep.
You know, I'm trying to make a point that black sheep, really the characteristic of people who attack that way are maybe children that are different, opinionated, outliers, or really just, you know, having a wrong lifestyle. And I think being opinionated, being an outlier is not inherently a bad thing. And I think the same thing applies to black tax, which means that the principle behind black tax is not a bad thing. It's noble. It implies a strong sense of responsibility for family. However, there's a negative part of it, which means that undue financial burden and pressure is being put on a particular person beyond what is reasonable or fair. And I think that is wrong. However, I'm not against. In fact, I'm a proponent for people having strong family values. And when you have strong family values, I think it's natural that you would have that sense of responsibility for family, and it would also kind of show in where you allocate your finances. So, and I mean, I'm a firstborn, and so are you.
Too.
So our situations are like so unique. I think for me, it's an honor to be able to do what I do for family. My mom never had to ask me before I already had it in my mind, like, this is what I want to do for my family, what I want to do for my mom, for my siblings. And I think that's noble. So it's not a bad thing. However, it's not establishing that boundary, because really people are allowed to test you. It's not necessarily a bad thing. As humans, we will test limits, right? So if we don't take upon ourselves the responsibility to establish that boundary, then really we can't hold people accountable. So I think that's where that common sense and balance comes in.
I mean, very, very true, because I feel like there's also the cultural context that we need to also look at, because I feel like the way it affects us as Africans, as Nigerians, as people who are trying to take our families to a
Yeah.
more comfortable
Yeah.
position financially,
Yeah.
the conversation is different from, and I think where the challenge now comes, because this is, I see people speak about black tax and just bash it. First of all, the phrase black tax already has a negative connotation to it, which I think you already mentioned, because when people address the conversation and you hear the word black tax, it already has that, oh no, we must resist it, we must oppose it. But then I think that most of the people in our parents' generation grew up in a much more communal system, and that was the standard expectation, that okay, as you are growing up, you take care of your younger ones. They probably also, even some of us are beneficiaries of like family
Black
trust fund,
tax,
even though it's not it's not trust fund but family funds. There was always that communal system where you probably had an uncle or an auntie living with you. Your parents probably put their siblings through school. So there was that responsibility. And even in Yoruba, for instance, you hear statements like "Wa jẹun ọmọ." So it's even a prayer that is embedded in the cultural system. So that has been the transition model for
so
many
it's more
generations.
of passing the
Exactly.
baton.
So I can imagine like our folks, our parents, like them doing some things for their siblings, for their family, expecting that okay, that at some point they will be able to do some things for them, or doing some things, and like the prayer and the sayings usually go, expecting that okay, your children are going to, and that's basically the system. We don't have hospice facility in this part of the world. I don't even think it's generally something that we are accustomed to, or something that we practice, or something that we embrace. It seems like a more Western thing, because I mean, in the West, is when you're 18, go and fend for yourself, take care of yourself. If you are old, put you in a hospice facility and you live there. But you have families that grandparents live with their family. So there's that communal system. And then we are growing up in an era that, number one, the economic realities are entirely different. What's it meant to be a 20-something-year-old, a 30-something-year-old back in their day is different in terms of the economics, the finances, and all of the financials of that, from how it is in our day. Because sometimes you can spend your money on something that if your parents should hear, they will be like, what kind of ridiculous expenditure is that? But for you, based on the description of work, the description of life, for us is entirely different. So I don't blame them. Exactly. I don't blame them totally, because they've done some things. They've probably even made some extra sacrifices for family, expecting that the system is going to continue. But then we are now in an era where independence is the language of the day. It's about liberating yourself, discover yourself. So I would say that there's even a level of selfishness with good reason that you need to have to liberate yourself financially. Sure, you get. And it seems like all of us are getting that memo, realizing that I'm responsible for myself. I'm responsible for the children that I'm going to have. And I need to make some tough calls and all of that. So it's like two worlds colliding at the same time. So how do you think we can practically find what we like to call balance in this model? Because I mean, we can't throw the baby away with the bathwater. So we need to be responsible to our parents, to our family, knowing that it's not like they're trying to be a burden because they just have to. Many of them actually, many of them are business owners. Some of them are people who sell stuff in the market and things like that. They don't have a system exactly that pension, 401k, all those things like they have in the West that will take care of you perpetually. Like their children looking after them is probably like the only way out that many people have. So and also the fact that we too, we need to create something for ourselves and for our children as well. We need to take ourselves to another level financially. So how do we find that balance in practice?
I think for me, what balance looks like, first of all, is truly having a generous heart. Because if generosity is lacking in a person's heart, like there's no point, really. And because when a person is generous at heart, I can trust their judgments. It means that if a generous person puts strong boundaries, I can trust that it's with the best intention. And like I said, I'm going to say some things, and if my mom sees this,
we listen,
we do not judge. I remember when I first started working, I actually did not declare 100% of my pay because, of course, it's natural to be asked, as my first job.
You use that scope.
Yeah, I declared 80%, right? And for good reasons, because I did not want to have some conversations. I did not want to have some undue pressure put on me, right? Because I had my head in a good place. I had a plan for my finances. So generosity, number one. Number two, having the courage to set strong boundaries. So I was generous at heart. And I think that my reason for declaring, for instance, 80% of my pay at the time was because I wanted to be able to build up and scale up with the aim of eventually being empowered to do more for family, right? And what generosity does for you, I mean, I think if you ask any member of my family, they would say Tokpe is a giver. Like, when it comes to the basics, like
Even
the
me, I agree.
essentials,
As a member of your family,
the essentials, I do not joke with anything health related. I do not joke with school fees. I do not joke with like the essentials. However, if you ask my family members, they will tell you Tokpe is disciplined, which means I have consistently shown that I am not going to fund anybody's irresponsibilities. I'm not going to fund your I'm not going to fund your reckless lifestyle. However, when it comes to what you need, you can guarantee that I'm going to stretch as reasonably possible to ensure that it gets done. And I think that as human beings, we need to be able to find that balance as people who are growing, in this adulthood game. You need to be able to have that fine balance between generosity and having and being decisive with your life choices, right? And I'm sure people who maybe didn't establish that boundaries, you realize that when you have a need and you now go to the people who you've been helping, they are the same ones that will tell you, but what have you been doing with all your money? And you now start to look silly. So I think really that's what balance looks like for me. Being generous, I had, because if you are not generous, then I think that's something fundamental that needs to be solved for. But do not be afraid to be able to make the tough choices. I'm going to be vulnerable to give another example. I remember at a point, still within my first year of working, I had to go to a new city. It was my service year period. I think it was a month before my service year. I'd lost my phone. I had flight trips ahead of me, I mean, for service year and then work. And around that period, my mom had reached out to me to say, oh, she needs some funds for her business. And I knew that she was in a tough space where her business was concerned. And it was quite a tough decision for me. I knew that the right thing to do was not to release that money because I truly could not afford it. And I knew I had expenses in front of me. And I said, Mommy, I don't have this money. I cannot afford this money. And she was like, oh, but I thought you save. Truly, of course, my mom knows I'm quite disciplined in my finances. And I'm like, okay, Mommy, I'm sorry, but this money is somewhere where I can't access. And it was quite a painful decision, but it needed to be done because I knew in less than a month, I had all of these things piled up in front of me. And guess what? My mom would not be able to show up for me in the way she's requesting when my own time comes. So I had to do what I needed to do. Because if I given her that money, it meant I would have needed to borrow, right? And I didn't want that. And for me, I had to make that tough choice. In fact, I think maybe I cried because it was painful.
Sorry, babe.
Thank you. It was painful, but I think as we grow, we will come face to face with this kind of tough choices where it is literally you, your comfort, sentiments, and your future and destiny. And you have to pick right. And as long as your heart is in the right place, I think it's okay to choose you first in that moment because you are thinking, if I choose me first, I can be empowered enough to be able to do more for the people I care about the most.
Yeah, that's really awesome. I mean, I think that's, for me, I would describe the balance as, recognizing gratitude because, I mean, as grateful and responsible, God-fearing children, we need to be grateful for all that our parents did to get us to where we are. Within what they could afford and what they could do, they try to give us the best. And to be honest, many of us will not be where we are at without that's the contribution of. So there's that part of gratitude. Then there's also responsibility that you have to yourself, to the generation coming after you, to hold it all together, to do what is needed and what is helpful. I think thinking back now, I think for me and my family, I have come to appreciate eventually it seemed like my parents were able to see and understand and trust what I was trying to do from the beginning, because over time my ability to contribute financially to the family has increased. And I remember when I was getting my second job after that first one, I jokingly told my folks that I'm not going to tell you people how much I'm earning this time. And they were like, hey, we did not ask you, you know. So, and over time, there has been that level of trust that number one, this guy knows what he's doing. And number two, he does care for us and will do whatever is within his capacity to do. So I think the balance is in evaluating yourself progressively and really being honest with yourself. What am I able to do now? And I mean, some people even have extended family that they are responsible for, apart from just nuclear family. So it seems like depending on how much people have contributed to your becoming, to your upbringing, that defines how much you have to extend and all of that, which is really awesome. Before we conclude or before we go, they are also speaking about the adulthood scams matter. I have a ranking list here. So we are going to rank the top 9. I was hoping it could be 10, but let's say, okay, the top 9 adulthood scams. These are things that nobody warned us about. Nobody told you. In case you have not started dealing with these things, let me just be prepared ahead of time. There are some that is when you get married, you start to see. Some is as a single person. So number 1, of course, this is not in no particular order. So it's not like number 1 is the highest one and number 9 is the lowest. Number 1 is the ridiculous price of curtains.
Oh God.
Nobody.
I was livid.
Oh my God. Nobody prepared me for that one.
Like cutlery.
I don't think I bought spoons. Spoons are too expensive.
Well, I mean, it was my first job. I moved cities, so it was.
No, I want to believe you can still get cheap spoons. At least at worst, you use plastic.
So maybe for me, I was getting a lot of things like at the same time, so it was crazy. Even mattress, like I was upset.
No, curtains really surprised me.
I agree.
Just go and price curtains right now. You will be surprised at what you find.
Maybe someday I can talk about what my first curtain looked like, because I really could not afford something decent. But anyway, moving on.
Number 2 on the list. Can you guess what's number 2? Okay, this one, don't guess. This one is, don't worry, you will meet it in real life. Number 2 is when you think that renting a house is expensive, wait till you get to furnish it. That one, you probably even spend
the painting.
You spend more on furnishing the house than renting it. Apart from what Lagos agents will put you through to get a house and get one to rent, the things you have already mentioned: curtains,
you paint,
furniture. Just easy tips to anybody that is just starting out. See, just sort out your bedroom first. Sort out your mattress, the rest, and kitchen. Sort out the kitchen and your where you rest your head. The rest will sort out itself. I didn't get a TV till we got married. Oh, my parents actually gifted me one, but eventually I had to. They were the ones I even had to use it because I did not even buy. I didn't even buy a console or anything like that. Number 3. Once you start making money, you can do whatever you want.
Lies.
They didn't tell us about bills. Bills was like a rude shock to me. Like, and it seems like when you start living alone, a lot of things just start happening at the same time.
Yes. Yeah.
Electricity bills, Loma waste, that's for waste
and
bills.
Then you realize how much of a discount that your parents are. Yeah.
Please, if you don't be in a hurry to move out of your, of course, I mean, challenge yourself as well, but I mean, just I would recommend that, especially for guys. Okay, for ladies also, if you can, try to live alone or get some independent before you get married. Maybe a year or 2. Try to live alone for a minimum of that. But before you get to that stage, please maximize that subsidy. Number 4, this one, I'm sure a lot of people will be able to relate to this one. Those uncles that asked us to send them our CVs. May God forgive all of you. May God forgive you. Because I don't know why they were always making... You did not have any of those uncles?
I'm sorry, I cannot relate.
Did I have any of those uncles? I did not. Okay.
But yeah, I know.
No,
I know.
Me, I did not have. I didn't have my uncles were not like my actual uncles, like biological uncles. But all those uncles, like your parents' friends, all those Uncle Adugbo, all those people that will give you say, don't worry. When you finish school, just send me your CV. That was another one that were not. Number 5 is good grades equal good job.
Lies.
That one too.
I'm sure we cannot agree on.
Yeah, and my
Yeah.
heart goes out to anybody who is looking for a job right now. God will help you. You
Yeah.
get a good one.
Yeah.
Okay. Do you want to guess what number 6 is?
I can't remember what you put there.
Number 6 is the why are you still renting scam. So now this one, so this one is when your parents feel like you are working, you are getting paid, you are doing go. Oh yeah, because calling now. Do you people think? Do you know how much? Do you know how much they are selling? And no, please, I don't want to live it. Don't let me mention specific locations so that it will not be like I'm dragging some people. I don't want to live in the interland. I'm trying as much as possible. Please, I don't want to be coming from inside somewhere that I don't want to mention to the island. No.
Yeah.
So if I want to get a house, it has to be somewhere. It has to be on the island or on the mainland, the actual mainland, not the interland, not the extended lands. So please, it's not that simple, because I mean the model is that you just go and look for one bush, you buy the land then. When civilization now gets there. Of course, for real estate investment and all of that, that is recommended.
Yeah,
but
and of course you can do it for rental.
Exactly.
But for them it was more of
yeah,
buy the
that
house,
was the strategy.
buy the land, build from the scratch, and ensure you live there. Regardless
Or should
of
we
how.
actually go and find land beside bush? We'll just pray. Holy Spirit should just give us direction on the next bush that is going to pop.
Holy
because
Spirit inspired.
Yes, so
Until
Holy
that
Spirit
happens, please, we
inspired
use the
bush
land for
onsen.
other things.
All right, so to number 7, this one we evidently can't relate anymore. The when will you marry scam. So this one is very, very interesting because first of all, when you are much younger, the gist is always stay away from girls, stay away from guys. That's what I mean. Of course, for ladies, stay away from guys. For guys, stay away from girls. Don't let anybody. If a boy should come near you, you will get pregnant. And then all of a sudden, you see that when you start approaching 23 for ladies, 23, 24, 25 for guys, you start hearing, oh yeah, where is your husband? And so when did the memo change?
Exactly.
Nobody.
Exactly.
And I mean, wedding is expensive. I'm so glad we are not getting married this year because I mean, so all of you planning your wedding, and
all the best.
All the best, the Lord is with you. Then the next one is, I think, okay, we're in number 8 now, is the jackpot will fix your life scam. Well, our jackpot people, me, I can't relate, but at least I heard that this one too. So tell us, how is the jackpot life faring? Because it seems like everybody expects that once you just cross over to the other side like this, changes. You have gotten into billions, so you can start funding everything. But then I realized that the reality is different. So please, if jackpot is not actually fixing everything right now, you can let us know in the comments, something. And then number 9, this one, the have kids, we will take care of them scam.
Oh no,
I'm calling all of you out. Mommy and daddy, Mommy Adeniji, I'm calling all of you out. You promised us. You promised us. Now it is on contracts. Now we have to be booking appointments. You promised us.
Oh my.
You told us when you start having kids, we'll take care of them together. But okay, we have to give them their shout out, give them their credit where it's due.
So much.
They came through for us in the early stages
and
still come through for us. But to be honest, this was not what you promised.
Yeah.
This was not
it's
what
you
you
and
promised.
your choices.
Exactly.
And your life decisions.
So please don't let your parents guilt. Of course, make sure you are ready to have kids when you do have kids. Don't let them guilt trip you into having kids. I will just tell you that one. That's they are going to take care of them with you. It's a lie. Of course, not an absolute lie. They will only take care of them for like
they will support you, but at the end of the day,
eventually they will go back to their own house
and kids.
Yeah, you take care of your kids by yourself. So that's it. Do you have any parting words to add?
I'm just excited.
Yeah, I'm also excited. I hope you have had a great time with us on this first episode. Looking out to see you on the other one. Don't forget to subscribe to the YouTube channel and every other way you are getting this from.
Wait, let's not forget. Like, follow, and share.
Yeah, like, follow, and share.
All right.
Take care, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Bye.